So, coming back to the second part of the first chapter, the first section, knowledge of the psychological terrain. We've covered a lot. Let's go on to the next part. So, one thing is that a frequent error on the part of the propagandist pushing something is a failure to take into account whether or not the propagandee needs it. That's what I was saying in the last video. Oh shit. Yeah, so that's what I was saying in the last video. That well, no, actually, yeah. So like people who are into InfoWars and conspiracy stuff, they many of them, when they're new, they don't realize that it's not as wonderful to somebody who doesn't know about it or care about it as it is to them, the knowledge. So for them, they don't need that knowledge because that's going to cause them cognitive dissonance and all kinds of pain, like I said in the last video. So another thing I was thinking of is how women are so good at propaganda. I was claiming in the previous video, and most guys will acknowledge it, that women have an easy time controlling them and their lifestyle and their actions more than they should be able to. So obviously they're skilled in the art of propaganda. And I think one of the reasons for that is that most men are trained and made to believe in the myths that were the same myths that have been here since before 1850. So technically, or in reality... Oh God, I'm recording a video, man. Huh? Can't you see I'm recording a video? Well, so women were basically being trained into the futuristic girl power movement, which is like living in 2150, the Brave New World scenario, and men are living in 1850, which is the Old World scenario, Knights of the Shining, with the shining armor and all that, and till death do us apart, supposedly. Although you didn't know that you married dead already. You married a zombie to eat your brains and your wallets and all that. So anyway, that was an interesting thought I had. Of course, when we say that the propagandist has to use existing elements, we do not mean that she must use them in direct or unequivocal fashion. Women are very indirect, on purpose, I guess. Then we have already indicated that she often must use them in indirect and equivocal fashion. When she does so, she can indeed create something new. The propagandist's need to base herself on what already exists does not prevent her from going further. If committed to a particular opinion, would she be obligated simply to repeat it indefinitely? Because she must pay lip service to a certain stereotype, is she limited to do nothing but reproduce that stereotype? Obviously not. Yeah, so many times they don't mean what they say, especially with their private thoughts, and they don't have to reproduce the stereotype, they just have to provide lip service, I do, to the priestly stereotype. Obviously not, till death do us part. So what exists is only the raw material from which the propagandist can create something strictly new, which in all probability would not have sprung up spontaneously. Take, for example, unhappy workers, threatened by unemployment, exploited, poorly paid, and without hope of improving their situation. Sounds like many people that join the club. Karl Marx has clearly demonstrated that they might have a certain spontaneous reaction of revolt, and that some sporadic outbursts might occur, but that this will not develop into anything else and will lead nowhere. So, left alone, Karl Marx believes that the people can do nothing. So they have to come with their propaganda. The same situation now, and the existing sentiments might be used to create a class consciousness and a lasting and organized revolutionary trend. So all the trendies are blindly following the Marxist trends. And then similarly, if we take a population not necessarily of the same race or language or history, but inhabiting the same territory, oppressed by the same conqueror, feeling a common resentment or hatred towards the occupying force, a sentiment generally found at a purely individual level, and in the grip of the enemy. Hold on. Okay. So, they have the hatred towards a common force, but that's only individually seen. And in the grip of the enemy administration. Sounds like Mexicans in America. But maybe I'm watching too much news. Only a few individual acts of violence will occur spontaneously in this situation, and more often nothing at all. But propaganda can take it from there and arouse the nationalism and even recruit kids to join on the poor white kids to join on the poor minority side and make you chant Black Lives Matter, bro. So the foundations of this nationalism are perfectly natural, but which as an integrated force is entirely fabricated. So this is true for Algerian, Yugoslavian, or African nationalism. So that's what I say. This group thing doesn't give us real solutions, because it's just you're just being manipulated by the propaganda. In this way, propaganda can be creative, and it is in complete control of its creations. The passions or prejudices that it instills in a man serve to strengthen its hold on him. Oh, that sounds like fashion industry, huh? Strengthen its hold on him and thus make him do what he would never have done otherwise. Sacrifice his poor life, paycheck, and peace of mind for the peace league. So it is not true that propaganda, the PGs, or PPGs. So the propaganda is powerless. It's not true that the propaganda is powerless, simply because at the start it is limited to what already exists. It can attack from the rear, wear down slowly, provide new centers of interest, which cause the neglect of previously acquired positions. It can divert a prejudice, or it can elicit an action contrary to an opinion held by the individual without his being clearly aware of it. So I thought that cocktease bitch at the club, she was definitely like, I feel by exploiting my weakness, she made me neglect my previously acquired positions and my MGTOW strength, my celibacy strength kind of got weakened by the lust. So it can divert a prejudice, so they can change your mind, or it can elicit an action contrary to an opinion held by the individual without his being clearly aware of it, which is the worst part of the propaganda. So finally, it is obvious that propaganda must not concern itself with what is best in man, the highest goals humanity sets for itself, its noblest and most precious feelings. And that's so true about the females and their manipulations today. Propaganda does not aim to elevate man, but to make him serve. So that reminds me of that Leonard Cohen song. All the homicide for the homicidal bitchin' that goes down in every kitchen to determine who will eat and who will serve. So they're not aiming to elevate us, but to make us serve. So it must therefore utilize the most, even though, you know, the men before us have given them everything they wanted at their fingertips now. They have all the power they want. But yet they must make us serve. It must therefore utilize the most common feelings, the most widespread ideas, the crudest patterns. So what? Propaganda must use the most common feelings. Don't you love me, baby? The most widespread ideas. You gotta be positive and not say anything bad about the female trickery, you know? And the crudest patterns. They don't show that in front of everybody, so I can't describe that dark despicability. And in doing so, place itself on a very low level with regard to what it wants man to do and to what end. So the PPGs place themselves or place itself on a very low level with regard to what it wants man to do and to what end. Hate, hunger, and pride make better levers of propaganda than do love or impartiality. So hate, hunger, and pride make better levers of propaganda than do love or impartiality. So I guess love and impartiality is a solution to resist the propaganda. Maybe that's why the weed is recommended as a solution by these Rastas. So hate, hunger, and pride is bad. Hate, hunger, and pride is bad because they are better levers. So that's what they use actually. They use the hunger that you have for the peace leave or for the job or for the paycheck, whatever it is, or the hate, you know, the distrust of your fellow man or your superiors or the ones trying to come at you. And then the pride, self-esteem, you know, that's what school's been teaching kids for the last couple decades at least. So better levers for propaganda indeed. They don't teach us love for our brother and sister and respect for our brother or impartiality. Next up we have fundamental currents in society, and that goes on for a while. Wow, that goes on for a long while. So till the next video, you can all check it out with Propaganda, Chapter 1, Section 2, Subsection 1 completed.